Today I continue my tour of the Bluegrass State with a stop in Kentucky's capital city, Frankfort, and a visit to the Frankfort Cemetery. The Frankfort Cemetery was founded in 1844 and consists of slightly more than 100 acres. It sits high on a hill overlooking the Kentucky River and the Kentucky State Capitol, and it is the final resting place of 17 Kentucky governors, a vice president, and noted frontiersman Daniel Boone. My first stop is at the Kentucky War Memorial, a 65-foot tall granite monument that sits at the center of the cemetery. It was dedicated in 1850 to the memory of all Kentucky soldiers who have fallen protecting our freedom. Resting in the shadow of the War Memorial is the grave of Richard Johnson, who was elected to the Senate in 1819 and became a loyal friend to President Andrew Jackson. With the support of President Jackson, Johnson was elected as the 9th Vice President of the United States, serving under President Martin Van Buren from 1837 to 1841. He was not selected to run for a second term and returned to Kentucky, where in 1850 he was elected to the Kentucky House of Representatives. But just 2 weeks after taking office, he suffered a stroke and died on November 19, 1850. Also resting in the shadow of the Kentucky War Memorial is Marine Lieutenant Preston OBannon. Lieutenant OBannon served as a Marine from 1801 to 1807 and was the first American to raise the United States flag in a foreign land at the Battle of Dern on the shores of Tripoli on April 27, 1805. After leaving the Marine Corps in 1807, he served in both the Kentucky House of Representatives and the Kentucky Senate. He died on September 12, 1850. At the age of 74. From War Memorial Circle, I made my way to Section S, one of the newer sections of the cemetery. It is here that I find the grave of Elizabeth Ann Hewlett, who is better known to professional wrestling fans simply as Miss Elizabeth, the wife and manager of Macho Man Randy Savage. Elizabeth was born in Frankfort, Kentucky on November 19, 1960. She attended the University of Kentucky, where she graduated with a degree in communications. After graduation, she took a job with International Championship Wrestling, where she met a young wrestler named Randy Poffo, who was wrestling under the name Randy Savage. The two married in 1984 and soon began appearing in the World Wrestling Federation, where they became instant stars. Elizabeth and Savage divorced in 1992, but still appeared together in several wrestling storylines in the ring. In 1999, Elizabeth left the WWE for Atlanta-based World Championship Wrestling, and once again found instant success, managing such stars as Kevin Nash, Ric Flair, and Lex Luger. Elizabeth and Luger became a couple both inside and outside the ring, and in 2000, Elizabeth retired from the ring to become manager of Luger's Gym in Marietta, Georgia. In the years that followed, Elizabeth and Luger had a turbulent relationship, but for the most part remained together, sharing an apartment in Marietta, Georgia. On May 1st, 2003, Luger returned to their apartment and found Elizabeth unconscious on the floor. She was taken to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead from an overdose of pain pills. Miss Elizabeth was 42 years old. My final stop in Frankfort Cemetery is on a bluff overlooking the Kentucky River and the Kentucky State Capitol building. It's here that we find the grave of Daniel and Rebecca Boone. Daniel Boone led early pioneers through the Cumberland Gap and established Fort Boonesborough on the banks of the Kentucky River in 1775. He lived in Kentucky for more than 20 years, but in the years following the Revolutionary War he found himself deep in debt and eventually moved his family to Spanish-held Missouri in 1799. In Missouri, Daniel worked as a farmer and as a Spanish agent, which eventually allowed him to pay off his debt. Daniel Boone died on September 26, 1820, at the home of his youngest son, Nathan, just a few weeks short of his 86th birthday. He was buried near Rebecca in a small cemetery in Marthasville, Missouri. In 1845, Daniel and Rebecca's remains were believed to have been disinterred and reburied here, at this spot in the Frankfort Cemetery. However, the story goes that the Boone's Missouri graves had been improperly marked, and that the wrong remains were moved to Kentucky, and that Daniel and Rebecca are still buried in Missouri. Today, both states claim to have the grave of the famous frontiersman, Daniel Boone.